Hello, everybody. Welcome to another Hangin with Hobo live. It is Saturday, June the 7th. Can't believe it's already June 2025. It's crazy. The year's already almost half over. Time flies. The less we have of it, the faster it gets, right? So I'm glad to see everybody here. And I'm just kind of curious right out of the gate here. The very first comment in the stream before we ever went live. In fact, it was at 4 o'clock. So 5 hours ago, ET Laserworks says, if anyone can do it, you can, Steve. If I can do what? So we got right now I'm showing 50 people in the stream, and that will climb steadily here in the next few minutes. And I'll wait for a magic number to get here, and then that's when I get into the teaching part, because we've got those lollygaggers who always, hey, can you start over? And no. So hope everybody's had a good week. I've had a very productive week, got a lot done, helped quite a few people. Got to work with a few new faces, which was always fun. And a couple of you were commenting here in the stream as we were waiting to go live about how crazy the web has made everybody so close now. And today I went and had I had a hot chocolate. He had a coffee. We went and sat down for a few minutes, a friend of mine, and we were talking about, prior to him having picked me up, I was just I think I was just helping Stephen over in Great Britain, and it was nuts. I mean, and he's asking about the lag time and all that, and I said, well, there's virtually no lag, not noticeable at all, and then it's real time, and I said, it's so cool. And he said, yeah, it's nuts. I said, yeah, and I said, and when I was my first year out of high school, I was my girlfriend was at UNC Chapel Hill, which is just a few miles up the road, a couple hours, 2.5, 3 hours maybe. And my phone bill, I had to pay the phone bill because I was racking up $100 a month in phone calls to talk to my girlfriend at college. This was in 1987. But $100 a month just to make phone calls, and that was quite a bit of money in '87, especially for still a teenager. And now I'm live streaming at no real cost to people in Great Britain, Australia, New Zealand, all around the world, and it's just nuts. The internet has brought us all closer together and made the world really, really small, and it's really cool at the same time. So let's see here. Just looking at the rest of these comments. Terry says, who needs sleep? It's highly overrated. And let's see what's he says. Joke of the day. What do you call a hen that can count her own eggs? We'll see. If we see it. A mathema chicken. Very good. You gotta love dad jokes. And I was looking to see if I seen the reply from ET about what it is I was. Says maybe Steve can show the submarine service logo. I did work on a submarine service logo this month or this week for this month. This week seemed like a month for Russ, and yeah, I will be showing you that here in a second. So I'm going to show you all the different versions of these files that have already started to populate. And what I'm going to do tonight is show you how you can take these files and make them really, really unique, make them even specific for you. If you were in service and you were on service on a specific Coast Guard cutter, then I'm going to show you how you can not only make it a cutter that looks like the one you're on, but we're going to be able to put the whole numbers on it, make sure everything is exactly. I'm going to show you how to make these super, super personal, and you're not going to have to go in and redesign the entire project. You just be able to take these, download them. The patrons, you're downloading them either at a discount or for free. And now you got to do is go in and just do a couple of quick modifications in the artwork and make it unique to your personal desires, needs, or someone else that you're making it for. And it's really, really simple. Let's see. And Robert says he just finished a stack of 50 plaques. And I know that's a lot of work, Robert, but getting them done, it's a real sense of accomplishment, and you got a lot of material to work with. And I've got an idea on the U.S. Space Force. That one is going to be the last one I finish up. I was already working on doing the Coast Guard, and I'll show you the ideas that I'm working with on the Coast Guard. But there were so many comments coming back to me in emails and requests about wanting to make different changes to the Navy. And I'm like, and that's what I in the thumbnail. I said, I can't please everybody. And I'm really not even trying to please everybody. I would take greater pleasure in teaching every single one of you how to do this yourself, instead of me making a specific file for each one of you and being able to collect $100 from every one of you. I'd rather teach you how to do it for free and share that information, that knowledge on how to do those things. And it's not going to be the things I'm going to show you. It's not going to be specifically limited to this design. You can use this on any of the files you already have, you've already designed or already purchased. It's easy to customize existing things, especially if you've got them in Lightburn, because that's what we're going to be looking at. Just looking, and see, we got some locals in here. I don't know if I've seen Jack in here yet or not. Jack, are you in the shop or Jack in the shop? Are you in the stream tonight? I see Ed's here. These are my neighbors, folks, and not just close World Wide Web neighbors. They're here in the same zip code. And just trying to get to the bottom of all of these comments and see if there's anything that I need to address right out of the gate. All right, and I've got a new request / demand that I seem to be in great spirits. Well, I've got a lot of rest in the last 24 hours because I just decided not to do anything. I've got too much to do, but sometimes you just got to chill. And in 2008, I was in Iraq, and one weekend I was able to Skype with my uncle, who was a comm tech in W2. He was so amazed that we could video. Yeah, it is nuts. It's crazy. And that was in 08. But, Lyle, I am going to do the USS Enterprise. If you're talking about for the Navy, I'm going to do tonight. I'm going to show you how to bring the Enterprise into the Navy design. The USS Enterprise won't be what I do for the Space Force, if that's what you're referring to, because I mentioned that earlier. But if that's something that you want to do after tonight's video or live stream, you will have the ability to do that yourself. Not sure what. Stop being so soft, Steve. Hugs back to you and all. I'm not sure what you're referring to as being soft. I'm a bit pudgy. So I'm kind of like Stay Puft Marshmallow Man. I used the nodes trick. I used the nodes trick to another project like you did with the ship moving. Yeah. And if you didn't see this week's video on just repositioning artwork in a design, you need to watch that. That's a whole another thing. It's like, okay, well, I love it, but I just don't like the alignment. Just a couple of clicks, you can realign stuff with hardly any effort at all. And in the 60s in Vietnam, we had to use the Mars system just to talk to someone back home. And I'm not familiar with the Mars system, but I'm sure it's, if it's from the Vietnam era, it's truly antiquated by now. All right, so here's my new request and new demand request. I used to, up until last week, I didn't ever really give it a whole lot of thought, because when I'm viewing YouTube, I'm even guilty of not doing this myself. I may watch something and I'm really liking what I'm doing, but I don't go to the trouble to hitting that like button. From a content creator, guys, this isn't just for my channel, but it's for any channel you watch. Hitting that like button is crucial on helping us to promote the channel within those YouTube analytics and to get exposure. So we've got 70 plus of you here now. So, and I used to say, right now we're only a few minutes into this. You don't know if you like it or not. Well, tough. You're going to like this. You're going to learn some things tonight. Hit that like button now. And as Chicago Bob says, don't forget to like, share, and go gold. But I want you guys to go and hit that like button now. And we're going to jump over and start looking at these designs. Now, what the reason that I like showing you how to modify this work is I love seeing, people ask me constantly that aren't familiar with me yet, if they have the ability to sell the designs they create using my digital work. Absolutely. I want you to make as many as you can, sell as many as you can, get rich, fat, and happy. And then when you've made so much money you don't know what to do with, then send me a special thank you. But no, yes, I want you to go and make these files and sell them. I encourage you to do that. And I love seeing when people take these files and make them personal, make them unique, add their own twist to it. I love seeing what people do with it. And I love seeing the photos of people at craft shows and craft fairs. And I look at their tables and I'm going, that's my design. That's my design. That is so cool. I love it. I want you to do that. But I want you to be able to make them unique. And especially if you're going to be, if you're making them and someone says, hey, I really wish you could do this, or I wish you could. Well, that's what tonight's about. How to change it, modify it, make it unique. And let's see here. All right. The images, I've got them all back here, but this is easier just to show you. As I finish these, I've been posting them. This was this was the army that I did for the Overlord. That's the Overlord Memorial, the D-Day Memorial in Bedford, Virginia. And then the Air Force. The Navy. And this is the second version. This version here, and just in case you don't believe me, check this out. This version was the result of a collaboration. Here you are. June the 4th, I had a Patreon only live stream, and it was 5.5 hours. 5.5 hours, me and probably anywhere from, at any given time, 10 to 20 people were collaborating back and forth on what the design should be, how it should look, and the layout. Prior to that, I did 3.5, almost 4 hours on the 16th. And then on the 12th and 13th, I did back to back. I did 5 hours and then another 3.5 hours. And those were live streams where I so I'm sitting here in the studio and I'm designing and creating. I'm like, you know what? Might as well share this creative process with anybody that cares to watch in my patrons. And that 5.5 hours, it went from being initially, it was just going to be the USS Arizona in all of her glory underway, crashing through the waves. And then we had a bunch of submariners, not a bunch. There were some submariners in the streams. Like, man, we want to see submarines. We want to see submarines. Like, okay, well, let's just do a sub. I'll shelve the USS Arizona, and then we put the sub on. And I created these images with AI, and I had asked for a specific profile, and it did not give that to me. It gave me a head on with the sub, and I'm like, I actually kind of like that. It's kind of cool. Ooh. So what if we did, the formation? Well, the sub is leading the way. And then I've already got the USS Arizona, which is dated, but that works kind of, it's going to be in the back. So it's going to be, kind of in the history of the Navy. And I said, no, I'll do a modern warship too. So, and created that and put all that together and work. And then somebody said, well, we got the vessels, but now we need aircraft. The Navy's got aircraft too. And so we did aircraft. And I used the AI to generate that as well. And we discussed which aircraft, and someone even, I don't know if it was Steven that suggested it, but somebody jokingly said, make it a Sopwith, a biplane. And I'm like, yeah, no, I wanted a stealth fighter, but I didn't know which one. And we ended up going with what was supposed to be the F-35. And I don't know if that's what AI generated or not, because honestly, I wouldn't know the difference between the F-35 and the F-22 or the alphabet soup. So, but one of the requests was, hey man, he was a pilot with the Navy, and he's like, that looks like, and then I think he said it looked like it was F-22. He said, and that's really not appropriate. It's dated. He wanted to see a more relevant plane. And so that's kind of what spurred this on too. I was like, okay, I cannot design something that is going to make everybody happy. Can't do it. It's impossible. So I want to show you how to do these yourself. And like I said, I have enjoyed seeing the different takes on this. This is from Dave Fisher. I don't know if Dave's in the house tonight or not, but Dave did this, and this is from John Paul Jones and the Navy, 250th year anniversary of the U.S. Navy. And there's a lot of history on this. And he used the concept with the frame and all and the different layers, but a lot of this is all his unique artwork that he's added to this. And then you get folks like Russ, and Russ did not that one, this one. Now, this is another take on my design, and this is the one that Russ made. And he did a little different. He doesn't have this attached as a corner spacer. It's just glued to the face of the flag. And so he's got the white layer, the flag layers 2, and then these 3, it looks 3, and then the frame, maybe 4 layers total. But he paints his insignias gold and then does the engraving and gives it a real good look. And in fact, there's the Silent Service U.S. Submarine Force. He had that and was working on it, and he asked me to look at it and dress it up a little bit. And I hobo-fied that one for him and sent him that. So if I don't know if that's the one that you were asking about earlier, but that's the subservice or the Silent Service Submarine Force logo that I worked on. And these are all Russ's. And here he did, there's the Arizona I was talking about earlier. And we had created this name plaque that you would normally see like on the outside of artwork that identifies what it is. So, these are all different versions based on the same basic concept. So let's see here. Since you were doing Overlord for D-Day, why not use the other ships that from that day as well? Again, there are a ton of possibilities, and the Overlord I did was with the Army, and the ships I've got there are, with Navy. I can't if and I've got two more to do. I've still got to do Coast Guard and Space Force, and if I don't put a button in it somewhere and move on, I'll be just constantly designing those. But you're going to be able to do that here after watching tonight. So, Carl, if that's the logo you wanted to see for the silent service, email me, Hobo with Wood, and I'll share that with you. HoboWithWood@gmail. Hey, Jack, are the Lightburn files available? All of the files that for these are on HoboWithWood.com. HoboWithWood.com is where all of these files are at. What was the font for the Arizona again? Engravers MT. Engravers MT. No, you're right. I'm out of RC Cola and it's killing me, literally, because this is some of the worst stuff you can possibly drink. It's banned in most countries around the world because of all the carcinogens and dyes and everything that's in it, but it's all I got available. And if I don't have something, I won't make it through the night. And believe it or not, even Coca-Cola and Pepsi both have, I think it's Red Dye 40 in both Coke and Pepsi, but RC doesn't have any artificial colors in it at all. So RC Cola, even though it's still a sugary drink, it's better for you than Coke, Pepsi, or that crap I'm swilling right now. All right, so how many likes do we have right now? Somebody hit your refresh button and tell me how many likes we got on the screen. Because I can't see the number of likes without jumping through a whole bunch of hoops. We got 83 some odd viewers right now, so we got 58. Come on, guys. Hit that like button. It is going to make all the difference in the world for me to help me grow this channel. This channel has gotten a little bit stagnant in its growth, and I'm seeing all the same familiar faces, and I love seeing each and every one of you every week. But I need more. I need more faces. I need more. I need to get more eyeballs and more exposure. And you showing you like this channel helps it promote it up in that analytics and being prompted for people looking at laser stuff. Greg's asking, can you help me get my cut and layers box back into the are you using a laptop, Greg? Are you using a laptop? Yes, that's what I figured. Laptops, and because I struggle with that a lot on my laptop too. Do you have a really good mouse with your laptop? Did you go and get you one of these trackball mouses yet that I've highly recommended and extremely endorse? Or are you still trying to use that stupid touchpad on the laptop as your mouse? But Carl's agreeing with me. Laptops are a pain. And the reason that it's such, and it's the craziest thing, the reason, not the only reason, but one of the biggest reasons that you have a problem with laptops and Lightburn. I have a mouse, but not a ball. Okay. Not the trackball. The resolution on the limitations of the resolution on laptops, or it caused so many user problems with Lightburn. A lot of you do, and probably the majority of you out there are probably using laptop to do your design work now. But I'm telling you, you'll have much, much less problems when you get away from the laptops and get you a nice laptop with good computing power. Because what you're going to see here in just a few minutes, when I go to create this artwork that I'm going to show you and bring it into Lightburn, well, I'm going to need to do an offset of this image in order to create the cut profile that I want. And when I do that, there's going to be so much information in this image, even with, and I've got a high, powerful gaming tower. It's going to go, and think about it for a minute and then generate, because it's got to process a lot of information. And if you're working with laptops that have low RAM, low processing power, low whatever, it'll just hang them up and just freeze it or crash the software. So it is sometimes it's just a matter of getting that, as far as getting your cuts and layers. You can try doing this. Try doing this one trick. Let me go over here to Lightburn. That's not Lightburn. I hope I didn't just click on something that's going to be a problem. We'll see. Oh, yeah, I did. All right. Go away. I caught it in time. All right. So try this. Try no promises, but try this. If you've got, and what he's referring to, boys and girls, his cuts, go away. There we go. His cut layers is floating out here, and he's not able to get it. In order to dock it back in place, you've got to grab that menu bar and drag it in here until you see it turn gray or blue like that. And then you can release it and it will drop back into that stacked place. But on a laptop, you can be all over it everywhere and it just will not snap into place. But I'm down here in the body of it. Now I've got this grabbed at the head and then drag it over here to the body and I can let it go and it'll stack them up. But what you can try to do, if you're not able to do that, come back up here to window menu and reset the default layout. If you've tried and it won't do it, try resetting the default layout and see if it'll stack them back in there. That's the one thing you can try, short of going and buying a powerful. And it doesn't have to be. And you can buy, I bought this one on sale during the Black Friday Christmas thing several years ago, but it's a gaming PC. It does really, really good. Let's see. A laptop with additional screen is the way to go. A laptop with the additional screen, I guess, changing your resolution and all that may actually overcome a lot of the problems, because it is from listening to the bigwigs up at Lightburn Experience last year. That's what they talked about is, the majority of the problems result from a resolution issue. Will Lightburn use the video? Will Lightburn use the videos GPUs? That might be a question for Chris. And Jack says he uses his laptop in 3 screens, so that might be the workaround for because a monitor is a whole lot cheaper than going buying a computer. Jonathan saying same thing. Pain getting the windows stacked. Yep. All right. So I'm going to mark this spot and we're going to jump in here and start talking about the designs. We got 90 of you here now. Okay. So I'm going to bring in first. Let's turn off Jonathan. All right. He's going bye-bye. All right, and I'm not switching you yet. I'm going to get Lightburn opened up, and I'm going to bring in recent. I'm going to bring in the Navy. Yep. In the Navy. No, I don't want to switch nothing. Let's see here. Laser. work? Okay. All right. Switch. So if you go to hobowithwood.com right now and you get the Navy Memorial, this is how it downloads. There are 2 different pieces of artwork right now. After tonight, I'll probably have 3 because I may end up saving this and adding it to it. There is an optional flag on here because some folks didn't like the way the shape of this union was. So I did a different version, optional flag there, but you've got the USS Arizona, and then you've got the one with the sub, the Arizona, and the modern warship, and what's supposed to be the F-35. And the reason that these are on a different layer is they are such fine lines for the line work, the drawing, that I needed to have more passes with these myself to get the look that I wanted. So I put those 2 on different layers so I could send those 2 out separately multiple times if I needed and not burn this whole image. That's the only reason they're like that. You may not need to do that. And then I've got the frame up here with the instructions on how to do all that. We've explained all that in previous videos. But now I want to do this with the USS Enterprise and not the one from Star Trek. We're going to do, and I went over to that stupid AI, the really, really dumb one. No, not that. There we go. Google Gemini. And I asked it to create some Coast Guard memorials, and it kept making these. And I'm like, oh, that's kind of cool, but where is that at? And it does not exist. It just made up what it perceived would be a cool Coast Guard memorial. And the actual, and that's not a real memorial either. So I gave up on getting it to recreate a true memorial. So I started asking it to create me some Coast Guard cutters sailing at me with a 3/4 profile. I'm like, okay, well, I said a black and white image, but I don't want an actual image. It needs to be a line drawing. And because that way I don't have to come, it's easier to trace. I don't have to worry about an actual image. So I do line drawings, but it was crazy. I said, I want a Coast Guard cutter sailing at you at 3/4 with a 3/4 profile with nothing else surrounding it. And then I said, no, make it a realistic line drawing. So he said, here's a realistic line drawing. And I'm like, wait a minute, I want it plowing through the seas. So I had to do another one. I was like, okay, that's pretty good. I said, do another one with same instructions. And it gave me another version. I'm like, oh, that's kind of cool. I'm like, all right, one more time. And I kept getting these different versions. I'm like, okay. So I finally up getting one that I liked. And then I got sidetracked and I said, oh, I wanted to do one because the Navy has got the fighter up above it on the Overwatch. I said, you know what? I think I want to represent, because Coast Guard, they've lots and lots of helos. So I said, maybe I want to do a cutter that's got a flight deck on it and with a helo in the image. And initially I wanted it same thing, 3/4 profile, the helo taken off from the back. But when it did that, it generated it from the rear. And I'm like, okay, well, maybe that ain't bad either. Like I said, there's so many ways you can do this, and not any one way is going to please everybody. So I kept working. So I think this is the one I finally settled on for the Coast Guard, I think. But then there is an actual, in fact, here it is. This is the actual U.S. Coast Guard Memorial. It's in Arlington, and it's a pyramid, and this has got the Coast Guard logo up here and a seagull getting ready to take flight. And that would be really easy to recreate in Lightburn. But I was like, okay, that's kind of cool. It'd be kind of like using the one from the Overlord. And I'm like, yeah, no. And then plus I can hear all of the conspiracy people going, It's a Masonic pyramid with the third eye in it, and the logo being where it's located. And I didn't want to start listening to all that, so I scrapped that idea and decided to go with the cutters. And let's see here. Go back there. There it is. Looking at. I just want to say thank you, Steve. Thank you for your inspiration with the plaques. I have been making mine with keyhole slots. Well, thank you, Robert. Thank you for watching, and thank you for your support. Did you try asking AI for an existing memorial? And yes, I did. I very much did. In fact, it created one that looked kind of cool. And this one is the real one's located in Arlington in at the graveyard. And it's got the graveyard in the distance, but it's not the actual memorial. It's just something it created. Jack says you might have better luck finding the image you want. Upload it to AI and ask it to turn it into a line drawing. I haven't done that yet. I have not done that yet. And this AI, the Gemini, and I'm only using free AIs. The AIs out there, that some of them that you pay for, I mean, that's where they're creating all these fake videos and all. So you can do all kinds of stuff with it, but not with this cheap free stuff that I'm using. It's limited. It's more artificial than it is intelligent. It has extreme limitations. Rob says, my issue with AI lies with the specific ships and existing items. When I try to validate, I find that there's a problem with what AI did. Yeah. And for whatever reason, this AI, it doesn't even want to spell stuff correctly. Instead of the Coast Guard, it'd be the Coast Guard, or just the S Coast Guard, not the US. So but I'm going to show you, and we're getting there. We're going to show you how to change and fix all that stuff. Because for the large part, it can be real close with a few missing details, and we're going to fix a lot of that. All right, so, and Greg says, I used default settings and fixed it. Excellent. So putting yeah, glad that helped. Glad that worked. All right, so marking that spot, and now back over here and back into the light burn. So I decided I wanted that's cut back. There we go. I don't know if this is the one where I did the Enterprise or not, but I've got one with the Enterprise already. So let's see here. Import. There it is. Enterprise. Import. Okay. So I used AI to generate the actual the ship, the carrier, and then I used AI to create a separate image of a plane, and then I did I positioned it close enough that when I did an offset of each of those, it encompassed both pieces, and now that can be cut out, and it looks like the plane has just departed the carrier, and looks kind of cool. Now, there are no hull numbers on here. There's no identifiers on here, and I'm going to fix that. And I'm going to show you how easy it is to do that to an existing piece using the tools in Lightburn and make it look like it's supposed to be there. So first thing, let's go back over here and where, because I didn't look this up initially. Hull numbers for the USS Enterprise. All right, CV6. The current wow, okay. There's been two different hull numbers. CV6 and CVN 80. So let's look at images. And I knew that was going to pop up. The whole number for the Enterprise NCC 1701. Everybody knows what that is. I was looking to see, because not all of the ships had them painted on the hull. In fact, the USS Arizona did not have it painted on the hull. It was on the second gun turret. So, and this is the kind of things that someone who was it just said it, Rob just talking about the details are not, if you're looking for exact and what Jack said is, if you actually had a photo that you were able to import in and then have it create that photo into a line drawing, then you're going to probably see more of an exact representation, because the AIs I've seen, they get close. And I've seen somebody say something here about that one. So carriers have hull numbers on island. And yeah, CV6, it said CV6, and then later it was reassigned another number. Yeah, once it became nuke, it was what, CVN 80. The number was on the tower, not on the hull. Okay. Well, what we're going to do here is I'm just going to show you how to use the tool. Because here we're not going to be worrying too much about this one being exact representation, but how you use this tool and how you can warp and mess with things to make it change its perspective. So let's go back over there, and we're going to do it as the nuclear version. So this is going to be the CVN 80 or just the 80. So if I wanted to come in here and put the number 80 on the side of this hull and make it look like it's actually painted on there, because if I come over here and just grab my text and go with an 80 and place it up here, that just don't look right, because it's not the right perspective. So if I take that text, and if that's the general area that I want it to be in, tools, I'm going to go into the warp selection tool and see if I can do it with just warp first. And that's allowing me to warp all four corners. So I need to kind of skew it up a little bit, and then I actually need to even pinch that side down a little bit. And it can be subtle, the difference, but it's not going to be perfectly square. But now that looks, oops, I got the ship and not the 80. And I tell you guys, I learn from you, as and I love learning from my viewers. And in this week's patron live stream, I learned this, and I thought it was boom. There where I'm trying to click on that number 80 and I can't, it's because I'm in fill mode. I'm in fill mode and it's not letting me pick exactly where I want to be. So if you put it in line mode, you can pick and choose, and you're going to get it a whole lot easier. And I used to do that. I used to toggle back and forth between line and fill. And then I learned you don't need to change your fill mode. You just need to change the screen presentation. And if you go up into the window menu, you can go from a filled view to a wireframe view. And that's what I started doing. It's like, okay, I'm trying to click that 80 right there, and it will not let me get the 80. So if I went up here to window and wireframe course, I can then grab that 80 and not the ship and move it around. So I'm like, okay, that's cool. And then I want to see it in field again. I've got the window, field, and back and forth to see those, but it always stayed in fill mode. But talking about something entirely different, one of the patrons said, "Hey, there's a hot cut or a keyboard shortcut for that too." And I'm like, "Huh? What? Huh?" And it's right there on the daggum menu, but I never paid it any attention. If you go up here to the window where you change that view from wireframe to field, and the difference here between field smooth and field coarse, or wireframe smooth or coarse, the is amount is the amount of detail. If you have a computer with limited power processing limitations, then you might want to use the coarse field instead of the smooth field. It would require less of your computer's processing power. That's the way I understand it. But instead of having to go back in here and toggle back and forth, right here below it, toggle wireframe and field. Alt Shift W. Alt Shift W. Memorize that. Because if you're designing in Lightburn and if I'm in fill mode, I want to see what those layers are going to look like when they're engraved and all that. I see it better when it's filled, but designing is easier in wire. So Alt Shift W, and without having to go up to the menu and pick out what I want, Alt Shift W is just going to toggle that right back and forth. And it's so much quicker and so much easier than having to go over here, select that, change that, make it a line, and then say okay. And then when you want to go back to field, select it again, go back, put it in field, select okay. And then you figure out, oh no, I'm in wireframe mode. Okay, got to fix that too. So there you go. So if you just simply do Alt Shift W and don't even worry about if you're in field or in line mode, it makes it so much easier to grab what you want. But using that warp tool to change the perspective of those letters and or numbers, and the further away it is from you, the smaller it's going to be, the closer is the larger it's going to be, and that right there looks like it actually might be on the side of it. So that's how you would warp your text and make it a better possibility for that particular artwork. Make it blend in better. But we're not going to worry about that because on this, they said it's up here on the tower somewhere. And I think somebody said the catapult was on the wrong side on this. But I can't do anything about that now. I'm just going to go with what we've got. So this is the image that I want to make over here now. So I can do this a couple of ways. If I grab this and just duplicate it, Control D, duplicate it, and put it in the center of my work area, ungroup everything. I don't need, oops, sorry, drug from the wrong direction. I don't need that for this. I don't need any of the ship, delete all that. Now for this, I want to keep my spacing correct, and I could go in and measure, see what it is, and just recreate that, or just go into node editing, select all of those nodes that are the former offset, and then hit the letter D to delete them. And now you've got your template to put in your new artwork. And if I want it to be this fella, got to be in a selector mode. There we go. Needs to be resized. And what you have to think about too is how big do you want it to be versus where is it going to attach, and how much of the flag you want to cover up if you're doing it over the flag like we did with the rest of them. And as big as this is, I like having seeing the flag on either side of it exposed. So if I make that a little bit bigger, And this has got a lot of detail in the ship. Center that up. Oh, it's not grouped. Undo that. Let's group all of that. Air it up a little bit. Now, whenever you go to use your Boolean tools, it matters on your grouping on what tool you need to use. If these were grouped and you wanted to get just that, and right now that's all grouped. We need to ungroup it once so I can get just the cut offset. And if these two were grouped, then, and just so you can see it, I'm going to put this in fill mode. And Control Shift W. There we go. So you can see that's a solid 5mm frame. And then this is a solid piece here. And if this is grouped and you want to attach this piece to this piece, then you would need to weld this piece to this frame. So you would select and you can't say there it's selected the frame here because it's hard to select when you're in field mode. But I want you to see this. I'm leaving it in field. So if I select just the offset, hold shift and select the grouped frame, and it's, there we go. Control Z. Nope. So that's not going to let me weld it. And I typically don't do it because of that reason. Your best bet is whenever you look at it as these as individual pieces. And when I ungroup that, grab those, ungroup those two. And now when I get this piece here, it's one piece, and it's you're not seeing it as a single piece because it's let me do this. Let me put that on toolpath so you can see it better. There you go. So that's one solid piece there, and I want to subtract that offset from that. So I've got A, and then hold shift and select that offset and then subtract it. And then when I put that back on the cut path, you got that. All right. So that quick, I was able to put that. I didn't draw or create the enterprise. I asked AI to generate something that was close enough that it should appeal to most. And if it's somebody that's looking for very, very specific blueprint, you can get some of that stuff too, and I like Jack's idea. I might play with that. An actual photograph uploaded to AI and have it, convert it to a line drawing instead of tracing a photograph. Because I don't like tracing photographs. It's got to be a high quality, high resolution, really good detail, right, correct lighting, or else you lose so much in trying to trace photographs. But I like the idea of what AI might be able to do with it. But how did I get that offset and all that? So I used AI to generate this image. I actually had it generate two images. Are they grouped? Yep. So ungroup that once. There we go. So this was one image. In fact, actually, you know what? This image is the same image that I used in the Navy. So let me show you what I did to it as well. So if I go back here to import, is that it? Yeah, that's it. Import, open. Or is it? Maybe it ain't it. But I can show you in this file. So this is an AI generated, what was supposed to be the F-35. And if I tell it to trace it and say, okay, delete the original, put that on the black layer. And I'm going to get rid of all these lines that are in here. So I'm going to ungroup it, get rid of all this stuff. And I missed one up there, but I'm not going to worry about it right now. Oh. And I'm going to clean it up. I could have done this. Select all shapes smaller than that. File, edit, select all shapes smaller than that, and delete them. That cleaned up more. So now I've got this plane, and I want to show it like it just came off of that carrier. But it's that actually there could actually work if it was showing it even further. It's closer to you. It's further away from the ship. He's already changed his attitude, so that wouldn't necessarily look bad. But if you want to put it closer to the ship, it's not facing the right direction. Well, just like I used that warp tool a minute ago, I'm going to use the same warp tool, edit, tools rather, warp selection. And I'm going to start using the warp tool to change the attitude of this plane and its position. And actually just changing that right there, and then rotate it a wee bit. Let's skew it a little bit. Now it's not coming directly at you anymore. Tools, warp. So there, if you had this Enterprise and you're like, well, I don't even recognize what that plane is, and that's not the plane I want, tell it to create you one of the stealth fighters, and you can then put that in there. So let's group all that together. Now that's grouped. I'm going to put it in and it needs to be fairly close so that when you do your offset, the offsets overlap. So with that grouped together, I'll make sure that my carrier is all grouped together, and it is. Now this is where I said it takes some processing power, and depending on your laptop and or your computer, it may go and just freeze. If it does, be patient, let it do its thing. And if your computer it's got the power and it's just taking a minute, it'll catch up, it'll get it done. But do this. If you know that you have, I would recommend sizing the image relatively close to your intended use for the engraving. And then if you want to do a 3mm offset at that particular size, and I'll show you why you want to do these two things. So I'm going to select all of this temporarily, and I'm going to group it. And I'm going to come down here and I'm going to look and say, and actually, you know what? I'm going to duplicate this outer perimeter and bring it over here for a second. And then I want to Control D, duplicate it, and let's see, reduce it by 6.35. Oh, less 6.35 and less 6.35. And I didn't have my anchor point in the right spot, so it didn't center it up. There we go. And I don't know if 6 was the right size or not. But anyway, that's close. That'll work for what I'm going to do. So now that I know what my frame is going to be, I'm going to come down here and I'm going to size this close to its intended use. Get it as small as possible, or as close to the actual size as possible. And then this is to minimize, because it may take a minute to compute and generate this offset. And if you've got your offset tool, when you open it, it's going to open to your last settings that the last time you created an offset. And if it's some crazy offset that you did last time, like you did a 10 millimeter offset of something, here you only want a 3 millimeter offset, but you open it from a previous use of 10 mil, then it's going to lock up trying to do that 10 millimeter, finally do it, and you go, it's not what I want. And you got to go back and change it and you want the 3, and then it's going to lock up again trying to do, because there's so much information on here. And this one, I'm hoping it's going to go fairly quick for me, but when I do it on my laptop, because I work with a laptop too, that laptop just goes, what in the world was you thinking? And it gets up and grows a pair of legs and walks out the room. So what I would do first is set your offset settings. So grab something that's simple, like your frame here, and come in here. And I'm going to do, actually, let's do the outer one. I'm going to do an outward offset, and I only want it to be 3 millimeters. And I want outward only. I want it to be round. I do not want to delete the original. And I want to do outer shapes only. And I want to select the resulting objects, and I want to optimize it. So I'm setting all of these preferences and tell it okay. Now, I really don't want that, so I'm just going to delete it. But by doing that, now I can come in here and select this artwork. And when I click on the offset tool, there, it actually, and if you blinked, you missed it. It didn't even hesitate on that one. It generated the offset like that. My laptop would not do that. My laptop would just grind to a complete halt and go, what were you thinking? So it already created that offset. And I've got a 3 millimeter offset. And I told it to select the resulting objects. So I can say, okay, and put that on the cut path. And now I've got it. But now you see, those weren't close enough to overlap. So Control Z, undo that, ungroup those. This one is grouped. I can bring it down here just a little bit closer. And try that again. Offset. It's going back to my same ones. And you see there, it is attached. So if you want that to be one piece, that's how you get that close enough in proximity. Now, if you see it's only got the one place that's attached, if I cancel that, come in here and grab that and bring it in even closer and change it a little bit like that and that. And then do another offset. Say okay. Now I got this little hole in here where the two offsets, there was a large enough area there that it created a little vacancy. Well, when that happens, and sometimes you can do this and you will have your main offset, which is all you want. You do not want all those little pieces. And sometimes there'll be little pieces in there that you're not even aware of. So when you generate an offset, if you see the result is grouped, then you know you've got more pieces. And if you're trying to get a perimeter offset, you don't want to see a group. So this is how you know how you delete all of those and know you've deleted them all, even though you may not even have seen it being generated. Because sometimes it'll be just a little bitty spot somewhere, and it'll just end up burning a little hole, and you don't want all that. So because you told it to select the results, right now you can see that it's a dot dash indicating that it's a group, and you have the ability to ungroup it up there. So hit ungroup one time, and when you do, it still has this selected, and it still has your perimeter selected. Well, in this instance, these are the only two pieces. But if it wasn't, and you didn't know that, if it did something over here that you weren't aware of, and you want to keep the only piece you're interested in is this outer perimeter, then hold the control button and click on that outer perimeter. And that's going to deselect that. Everything else that was created will still be selected. And look here. There are other pieces that I was not aware of, because that's not the only piece that's selected. I could hit delete right now and it just all of them would go away. But I'm going to pull this over here to the side and show you. There. See there, all these random offsets? Those are probably from the waves down in here. And I didn't need offsets of all that stuff. So I'll hit Control Z, put that back. That's all grouped again. So there, you ungroup it one time, hold the control button, deselect the outer perimeter, and then just hit the delete button. And that'll clean up all the random pieces. Put that on your cut path, and now you're that's ready to cut out. And if you need to be resized, you can then select every bit of it, group it all, and you say, you know what, that needs to be a little bit bigger. And then you can use your weld or your subtraction tools, your Boolean tools, get it placed exactly where you want it. And we're going to make it a little bit bigger yet. Make sure it's in the center. And then A, ungrouped, A, the centerpiece. Oh, that's grouped. So you got to ungroup it. So A, the centerpiece, B, the outer perimeter, and subtract. And then you can weld those together, or not weld, group those together. And now you've got your group profile and your grave profile, or your artwork ready to go on one piece. All right. I'm going to go back up here to all. There's my, does I see a place I've marked? Looking for my signature mark, my asterisk. So I don't want to miss any of your comments. And all right, there's my mark. So now I'm going to start coming down looking for questions and comments. If you have a question or comment that I do not see or don't address, post it again. And to make sure that it jumps out at me for any of you that are new, post your questions with 3 question marks in front of your question, exclamation points if it's just a, hey, dummy, did you know this? Check this out. If it's a comment that you really want me to see, put your exclamation points in front of your comments. But like this, Chris, GPU will not be used due to common denominator factor. So I'm thinking he's answering the other question. Okay, so I went back too far. I seen that. Yes. There's another spot. All right, now new place. And I'm only looking for questions and comments that have that preemptor like this. The picture I found on Google has the numbers on the front of the tower. Yeah, and that's what others had said. It's got the number on the tower itself. And Carl says the tower is called the Island. Okay. Uh, uh, and only because I've seen that shortcut. Alt Shift W can be done with one hand, real easy. Yeah, yep, yep. I'm lost. If you're still lost, you're happy to join in on the patron streams, and we're doing one-on-one instruction and we'll get you on the same page as everybody else. And Lightburn help, yeah, that has a printable, and there is the printable file for all the hotkeys. And what brought this up, the way that I was talking about hotkeys with in the Patreon stream, was I was showing you how you can even edit your hotkeys, which is really, really cool. Questions and comments. Here we go. I think the parts to be offset has to be closer than the total distance of the offsets combined to outline them both into one. Yeah. Because if you're doing a 3 mil and a 3 mil and the total is 6, it can't be greater than 6 millimeter apart, or else they're not going to overlap. Then it won't be linked. I love that, Charles. And for anybody who's new in the stream, these numbers that people are posting, those are how many things that they have learned in this stream. And I just seen this. Richard said 72. I'm guessing he's either how old he is or how many things he's learned in this video. Let's see. All right. No, Carl, I've ran out of RC, and it's not been in the budget to go. I try to go once a month and buy them at the dollar store. Can't afford to buy them at the grocery store. They're $2 and $3 at the grocery store, but I can get them for $1.25 at the Dollar Tree. But that's not been in the budget. And I'm out. 72 likes. 72 likes. Okay. All right. And now that we've got 90 plus viewers in here, we've got at least 20 more, because I think we had about 70 some whenever I asked you guys to do this. Well, hey, there you go. Now, Tom, I can go buy some RC now. Thank you, Tom. God bless you. It is crucial to hit that like button. If you have posted a number on here that you've learned anything in this stream so far, and you haven't clicked that like button, smack yourself in the back of the head and hit that like button. That is one thing that I need you to do to help me get this channel pushed out there in the analytics. Like, share, and subscribe. All right. So trying to think if there was anything else that I was wanting to show you guys that from this week. We got the Control Shift W, or was it? Yeah, Control Shift W, Alt Shift W for the toggle for wireframe. And Terry says, and go gold. Yeah, go over to patreon.com/hobo with wood. I'm really bad about not promoting myself. I got to do better at that. Media. Here we go. No banners. If you go over to patreon.com/hobo with wood, you can become a patron, support the channel. This is how I can't even say make a living. This is how I pay my bills. I ain't making a living. I'm paying my bills and feeding my belly. Patreon is $3 a month. Silver is $9. Gold is $20. The difference is the discount levels you get on all of the digital files on my website. Gold members get all the digital files for free. Silver gets 80% off. Bronze gets 60% off. And as a patron, you'd be able to join in on those Patreon only live streams. And go through this whole creative process from beginning to end. And the way that a lot of in fact, this will be one I'll show you on the same subject, morphing a design to make it fit your application. I did with Stephen in Great Britain this week. Come here. He had, and in fact, I'll show you the images. He had this really, really cool guitar that he wanted to put on this stand, and he liked this because it was the treble clef and it has music notes on it. And he's like, yeah, but it would not support the guitar. So we had to fix that. And I'm going to show you how I did that. And then I'm show you an even potentially an even trickier way to do it than what I ended up doing with him. You can't find the like button. I'll be over at your house in just a minute. Hey, we're going to go to West Penn again. Ed indicated he might be interested. Dwayne's coming down, and we're going to West Penn again. We're going on Tuesday. If you're available, anybody in the immediate area that might want to go to West Penn Hardwoods, we're making a trip on Tuesday to go West Penn. I'm crying. I'm not sure why you're crying. I'm beyond excited to see your work. Don't know what that last words is or supposed to be. I'm beyond excited to see your work. Don't know what that is. On the Coast Guard. Okay. Oh, okay. I'm crying because the other Carl took my crown. I don't know what the crown's about. That's something that's new. I don't know what all that's about. I get the participation. Jeep says going to bed. Good night. Good night, Jeep. All right. So this. Let's take a look. Let me find the email. Steve. And there and there. Okay. So switch. So this is a multi-layer piece. I don't know how many layers it is total. 5, 6 layers or more. And he wanted to be able to put that on the easel and have it support itself. But because of its design, it's extremely heavy on the right side. So it did not want to stand upright and support itself. And here we go. So there's the easel you can see in the back there. And we had to do some pretty heavy modification to this in order for it to support itself and not want to topple over. But it is so easy to do this using existing artwork. In fact, let's just import the easel. Let's see, desktop. So this is the file that's available on Hobo's Wood. And this is a guitar pick, or in the shape of a guitar pick. And that's what this is. It's supposed to be kind of, well, thank you, Roy. This is supposed to be resembling a music stand. You know, to go with the whole theme, the treble clef, the notes, the music stand, and then a guitar pick. But that is the perfect silhouette for this particular piece of artwork. Now, everything's figured out. All the geometry's right. All of the angles are right. This is inclined at the right inclination or reclined so that everything displays at the right angle. And you don't want to go in and start having to redesign the entire piece. Well, this is actually the base. This is the backboard. This is what it rests against. So I'm like, okay, so that's what we need to modify. But when we do it, we need to keep, the size here, this position the same, and these two slots the same. Other than that, then the rest of that's kind of irrelevant. So if I import, see where, there it is, open. So here's the file he sent me to work with. Like I said, he did a whole lot of work, but this piece right here is all I need. That's the very back or the outermost perimeter of this design. So I'm going to get rid of all of this. And this is the size. Everything about this is correct. But I need to have this supported by this backboard right here. And this piece right here, that's where your guitar strap would go. That's correct. Well, this is the base, and this is two slots on the base. I can actually use that to fit and modify this slot so it has a place to go down into and rest. And if I do that, then that's actually going to be about right there, height-wise. So now I need to figure out how to get all of this to work where because I don't want to see that arm sticking out, and I need to be able to support the right side of that guitar where it's wanting to be top heavy. So I'm going to get this guy out of the way so it doesn't get confusing. And all I got to do, grab this, let's ungroup it. And I'm going to delete this piece because I don't need that at all. This right here, say, go into node editing, and I can delete all the nodes on this side by select them every one and hit the letter D. And that cleaned all that up. And all of this is going to be hidden behind the neck of the guitar. But if I wanted to move it in a little bit, I can come in here. And this is really crucial. This arc right here, maybe, and honestly, that doesn't even matter because you're not going to see it. So you could actually grab everything above your corner nodes and letter D to delete those. Hit the L for line to make that a straight line. And then I don't need that one. Delete that. Now I've got a straight line from that bottom to that corner, but it's awful close to the guitar neck. There's a good chance it might shift or be seen. So if I want to make that a little bit narrower, I just select both of those nodes, and I've got my control arrow movement set to 0.5 millimeter. There's 1 millimeter, 1.5 millimeters, 2 millimeters in. So that works. This over here is going to be completely hidden behind the guitar and its support, except for that hole. So you know what? Let's bring that down a little bit. And I can actually delete all that if I didn't want it. But I'm thinking from a weight standpoint, delete that node right there, letter D. I'm going to leave that cut out there so that it can just help keep the weight of that all down. This is part of the guitar. Go to there we go. That's all grouped together. I'm going to put it on the toolpath so you can see the difference between the two pieces. So now here, the guitar, all of this hanging out over here is making this extremely heavy to the right side of the image. So I said, you know what? Let's put a support piece in here to keep this from wanting to topple over. And where do I want to put it? I can't remember if it was up here or here. I did it with Steven, but it doesn't matter. What I ended up doing was come in here, and I'm going to first put a straight rectangle over here, about like that. Put it on toolpath and say A. Got a selector tool. A, subtract B. And that puts a straight line and a notch up there. And actually, I want to weld that. I don't want to subtract it. I'm going to weld that. So now I got a straight line down there. And now if I'm making this out of 3mm material, I'll come in here and get me a 3mm wide slot. The width is 3 mil. Let's put my anchor point in the middle, and let's do a height of 4 mil. And I'm going to move this outward so I've got more strength in this piece. That's going to be behind the guitar. It's not going to matter. This piece, though, I want to line it up with where I want my support piece to be. So I'm going to put that there, and that's going to be a 4mm by 3mm slot that I would cut out of that. And then simply come over here and draw a rectangle. I'm going to hold shift, make it a square, go from there to there. And I can make it a little bit longer. And actually, depending on how many layers the piece was, I think it was like 15 mil. Then I wanted this to be around 8 mil, 9 mil. I didn't want it to protrude all the way through the front. So I take that, take this piece right here, Control D, duplicate it, align it to the center, and Alt Shift horizontal to align them together, weld them together. And now I've got that piece that I could take and stick into that hole, and it's going to be sticking out through the hole in that guitar. So the guitar will be centered on that bass and in a hole, and then through that hole on there. And now it's not going to want to topple over. And I made that easel work for that design without having to go in and redesign everything. So knowing how to work with your nodes, not being afraid of your nodes. If it does something you don't want it to do, all you do is Control Z and undo it to get back to where you were at. And Carl, I don't know anything about those crowns, so I have no idea what that's about. But as Jack says, just the chats, the activity in the stream is what matters. I want you paying attention and learning, but the communication between each other and the sharing of ideas, as long as you're, hey, but you know what? If you've got some kind of secret crush going on between you and somebody else on the other side of the world, and this is where you decide to meet, fine. Just don't disrupt the class. I spend way too much time node editing. I get way too picky getting rid of all the unneeded nodes. Yeah, optimizing. That's Chris. What Chris just? If you tried optimizing to get rid of excessive nodes, optimizing is a great way to do that. But it doesn't always, and just as you said, it don't always get rid of everything. All right. So trying to think if there was anything I've left out of what I wanted to share with you tonight. Any questions? Any questions about what we've talked about, or any questions in general? Andy, are you still having, is there one that you've had a problem that you can't get straightened out? Lightburn did respond, and what I think happened, and I know you addressed the question to Chris, but they did respond and to someone else. I don't even think they answered me or Chris. I think they answered somebody else. What happened was some of that artwork was from another source that I didn't like certain things about it. And so I went in, changed, deleted, and all that. But it was brought in to Lightburn from a previous version. It was created in a previous version of Lightburn. And so let me just show you what I think happened. File, new window, art library. And this is, and I want to show you this so that this is what I did was probably not the best practice. And it's how so many other files, it was an issue on more than one piece of art because of my poor practices with this. So I've learned not to do what I did. So I've got an art library, and let's pull up, what was that? Plaques. All right. Let's say, trying to think of which one, because a lot of these I created from scratch, but I didn't create all of them from scratch. All right, let's just say it was this one. All right, switch. If I have a piece of random art and I open it up, and say you get a piece of artwork from me and you open it up and you saved it, and there's a bug in it like what you have. If it opens it up and does something funky, if it brings in a bug from a previous version of Lightburn, and I do all the modifications to this file, and then I save it, but before, and I save that back in, but then I start creating something new. I'll bring this in, and I start working on it, and I'm making the changes to it. Well, okay, well, I'm done with this one. I'm going to select it, and I'm going to save it over here. Well, when I save that and it goes away, well, this is still here, and these settings are all still here, and these are all from the previous art that I had up here. Well, it's not just the settings from that previous art. It's also any other bugs or characteristics that was associated with that previous artwork. So that's how, because the one piece that I did that was completely mine from scratch, where are you tonight? Well, it's the one with the fort and the Star Wars text, and I can't even find it. Plaques. Well, I can't even find it now. I created it 100% from scratch. But I must have done it on a page that had the previous settings from a previous piece of artwork that was from an old version of Lightburn. And when I saved it into my art library, it brought in even the contaminated code from the old version of Lightburn. Even though I created it in 1.7.08, I brought in that bug from a previous piece of artwork, and it contaminated the other pieces that I continued to create until I started from new. So I learned from doing that. Once I've done with that, I hit new and don't just that prevents me from bringing everything into the other piece. I received my Lasermatic XW this past week. Such an improvement from my previous laser. I'm going through wood like you. Yeah, yeah. Well, these pieces right there's uh, 1, 2, 3, 4 files that are complete. Actually, there's 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 pieces that of finished memorials, not counting all of the test pieces that I went through, and that's a fourth of a box of material just in the last week and a half designing these things for you guys. All right, and I'm really missing my RC. All right, any questions? Any questions? Any questions? We're at 90. We're a little over 90 minutes. Good to know about the new. I'm guessing, yeah. Hit that new button and start afresh. The crowns aren't a YouTube thing. It's a hack Chris has done, so he's number one in all the chats. Did you get that plywood? I did, and thank you. Andy hooked me up. Russ hooked me up. And I've got I'm in good shape thanks to you guys. I'm in good shape for a few weeks. Thank you very much. It was in cutting boards. Not sure what you're talking about there. All right, how do you optimize in? Okay, not sure what you're talking about there, Lewis. But Carl's asking, how do you optimize in Lightburn? All right, and I showed this in the Patreon live stream we did. And I'm not sure what Chris is referring to. Turn on load default settings on new or reload in settings. Not sure what that's directed at. But to optimize, if we go back over here to Lightburn, in fact, you know what? I'll do a trace and show you how you can clean a lot of this up. Let's import an image. You know what we'll do? We'll do the soldier. Open. All right, so this isn't an image. It's a grayscale image right now. It's not line art. It's not a path. One thing you can do before you trace an image out, go to your adjust image and take a look right down here at your DPI, number 1. Look and see what your resolution is on the image. To increase your chances of having a better trace, bump that up to 500 DPI. That's higher than a lot of the computers, and it's higher than I think anything you're going to do with in engravings, but just by increasing the resolution on this will help you a lot. And if it's not a complete black and white, then you may end up having to play with your contrast and play with your brightness and gamma to get you your best possible solution. If I bring this up here, full screen, and now that I've increased my DPI and I tell it to trace, before I tell it to trace, where... Oh, no, we're not tracing. This is adjusting the image. I'm sorry. Once I've adjusted the image and I've got that up to a much higher resolution, if we see here where you got a lot more pixelated, this gets away from all the pixelization, all the pixels, and it's going to give you a better result when you go to trace it. So I'm going to tell, okay, I've increased my resolution. Now I'm going to go to trace. And now when I want to trace this out, if I want to see how this is going to look, I can tell it to fade the image and I can zoom in and see how these are looking. And this is what I'm going to show you in the optimization. All these little curlicues and all that, we're going to get rid of all of that once we've traced it. So I'm not going to worry about that kind of stuff right now. As long as I've got a good general image that I'm happy with, I can say okay. And I'm going to do Alt-Shift-W, put that in line mode, and go in here and find some of those places, like right there. Now, there are a few menus in Lightburn with different tools that will keep a live screen behind that menu. And that's awesome because then you can pan around and see what's going on behind you. But the optimization is not one. Optimizing is not a live menu. So let's see here. I want to make sure I'm telling you, yep, that's right. And yeah, I want to make sure. I don't want to tell you no lies, so I'm just double checking myself. All right. So in Lightburn, I've got this image selected and I've zoomed in here to see this bunch of mess right here. I could delete that with node editing, and that's not the only place like that. That should be a straight line. And I'm like, okay, well, go up here to edit, and I'm showing you the wrong way first. If you come down here to optimize selected shapes or Alt-Shift-O, that's going to open up this optimize shapes menu. And if you start trying to tell it to optimize, do stuff, nothing's happening back here. And you can see nothing's happening here because you don't see any movement, because this is going to tell you what's happening as you start to move these around, fit shapes to lines, fit shapes to arcs, or smooth source shapes. But right now, because it's grouped, it's not going to do anything. So you got to ungroup it all first. Then all of those shapes are selected. You can, and here's what I was talking about it not being live. If I've zoomed out like that and I go back in here to edit, optimize selected shapes, that's going to come up again. And you can see here you've got 8,255 points. And I think that's nodes. And if I start moving this around, you can start seeing, it's changing stuff. It's reducing, it's optimizing, it's reducing the number of points. But if I try to zoom in, you can't. I can't scroll in and see that anymore. So before you use that tool, you need to zoom in on what you're wanting to look at, specifically if there's a very specific piece. And you can even, like right there, that's the piece I want to look at. If I wanted to, I could just select that one piece and not the entire image, and go to edit, optimize selected shapes. I can't zoom in anymore. I want to be even tighter. Go in tight, edit, optimize selected shapes. I can move this around, get it out of my way, but you can't zoom or pan your image. But I want to get all that cleaned up. Start changing different settings here. Play with it. Now here, you're doing this top one. Here it says fit shapes to lines. And so you see how this is an arc. Well, if you start telling it, you keep doing it, well, it gets rid of your curves. So you don't want to do that. Smooth source shapes. That one is not, it's off by default. So if you turn that on, then you start changing this, you can smooth all that out. But look at all those nodes that are in there. In fact, you started with 27 nodes, 27 points. But to straighten all that up and make that look better, it's generated 106 points to clean that up. So, okay, I don't want those two pieces. We'll just select them and delete them. And now that I've done that, edit, optimize selected shapes. Don't turn that back on. Let's see, I'm in here. Fit shapes to arcs. And say, okay. And now I've got it back down to 23 points instead of all those nodes. And that's how you, and like here, all of that randomness right there. If you didn't want all that, if you wanted it to look cleaner, and you don't have to do individual pieces, you can do every bit of it at one time, but you can't see it if it's, because you have to be zoomed in to see it. Fit shapes to arcs. And so it's not doing much. You got a little change down there. So smooth. Start smoothing all that out. Okay. And then if I want to get rid of all those nodes, go right back in, optimize selected shapes. And okay. Oh, let us know when you're getting low on plywood. Well, I'm good right now. You guys have blessed me, and I've got, in fact, Russ went really overboard. He's not only sent me the Baltic birch that I use, he sent me a small pack of walnut that I'm having a little bit of fun trying to experiment with, but also some acrylics that I want to finish getting these memorial pieces done, and then we'll go maybe play with some acrylic a little bit too. Yeah, the fork, may the fork be with you. That's the one that I was having a problem with. I can't even find it in my artwork. That's the one that was really, and I did that one from scratch, and yet it had the corruption in it because I designed it while I had one of the corrupted pieces open from a previous version of Lightburn. Karen's asking, what do I paint my pieces with? I'm lazy, so typically I paint with just the Rust-Oleum spray paint. But then when I want to do, these are all done with spray paint. And a good question was brought up earlier today about the flag, the Union. To create this, I use my Rust-Oleum spray paint. The flag's cut out. I put clear coat of lacquer on the entire thing. And then I put a light sanding on that because that lacquer raises the grain and gets a little rough to the feel. It feels like a little bit of sandpaper. So knock all those edges down. It gets nice and slick. I've sealed it. Then I tape it off, and I tape everything off but the Union. I paint the Union. Wait for it to dry. Peel that off. Seal it again. Wait for that to dry, and then tape, mask that off, and then paint the red. So somebody said, well, why don't you just cut that out and have the Union as a separate piece, and you can paint those and paint the other, and you can. There's always another way to do in Lightburn and make your projects. But the reason I didn't do it is even no matter how good your laser is or your curve is or your positioning, you're going to see that that's cut. You'll see an individual piece. And these bars would extend from the side of your frame, and they're not going to be attached to anything. So these would be free floating, and so you have to glue all those down. Right now, with it being one piece, you just got to glue the perimeter down and you're done. But there's nothing wrong with cutting out the Union individually and paint it and then try and put it in place, and you can do that. But I use spray paint. And then if I want to get really creative and add detail like this one. Oh, and does that go on here too? Yep, and here too. So the tree, all those different shades, and on this one, the different highlights on the trees and the limbs and the branches. I use my paint pens that I keep right here in my handy dandy paint caddy. And my paint pens are what I use to get the highlights and the detail. And those paint pens are in the hobowithwood.com page on my shop supplies. They're really, really cool. Lots and lots of detail with those. Oh, yeah. Sometimes it'll change the shapes more than you want. That's why I like to do it by hand on some projects. Yeah. The optimization tool, if you're not careful, it'll take too much of the curves out and you lose, it becomes muddy or losing different details. You just have to be careful. All right. Any other questions? We're an hour and 50. We got 10 minutes before we come up on 2 hours. So we got 10 minutes. Anybody got any questions, comments? Having to do with tonight's topic or otherwise, anything. You got me. Hit me up. What you want? Something else, and you've seen me use this tool. If I go back over here to my soldier, if I select all that, you come down and you can see there's 835. Well, you can't see it because of my comment. Let me turn off my comments. Oh, wrong button, stupid. Banners. Turn off my banners. Hide you. Go away. There we go. So now you can see there are 835 objects that's selected because none of that's grouped. Well, some of those objects are little random pieces like this. I don't need all that. That's adding nothing to the value of that piece. So if I get in there and select that, come back up here to edit, select shape smaller than selected, and it just selected a bunch of stuff. It selected 24 objects. So I can just hit the delete button and delete them. You're not going to miss them. Zoom in and find something else. It's like that. It's like, okay, not going to miss anything that size. You want to be careful because you don't want to delete anything that's going to be, up here in your helmet netting. So edit, select shape smaller than selected. And it's getting one right there, but that's okay. I don't need that. And a couple others right in there. And those don't need to be there. So delete it, clean it up. See, it starts to help clean up a lot of the mess that's in there, unwanted pieces that add no value to the artwork. So select, remove pieces, blah, 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 blah. Edit, select shape smaller than selected. And that's named incorrectly because it says select shapes smaller than selected, but it selects shapes that size and smaller. Okay. Teach me how to make that much money tomorrow. All right. Well, in Gaston County, you're going to have a problem doing that. If you was in a different county, it's possible. But if you were to get involved in our local government, I'm sure there's a lot of ways that you could figure out ways to put that money in your pocket because there's so much corruption in this county, it ain't even funny. Why do zebras have stripes? Well, camouflage. Because they didn't want to be spotted. Yep. All right. Nothing else. How many likes did we end up with tonight? Where are we at with the like count? When's the Cubico coming? They said June, but now I think they're saying 1st of July. 85 likes, so that's pretty good. That's pretty good. It's better than what it has been. 86 now. The Cubico is showing, I think, shipped now in 1st of July. I was hoping to have it here before Father's Day. Father's Day, and because I'm not a father, and I do have a father, but Father's Day's never been a huge celebratory day. When is Father's Day this year? Father's Day 2025 is June 15th. So 8 days from now. So 8 days from now will be my 3-year anniversary. So next week, or I'll be 3 years as Hobo with Wood. Check out my wood, Hobo with Wood. And I was hoping to have the Cubico in time for that as to be my 3rd year anniversary giveaway. It will be, it'll just be a late anniversary giveaway. So yeah, next Sunday. Have you heard anything about Lightburn 2.0 real version when it will go public? I have not, and in fact, there was a couple of posts. There are a lot of things in 2.0 that are really kind of cool, but because they're adding so much to Lightburn, they're having to do that nesting of menus and more drop-down menus within, you select a tool, then you got to go to another menu within that tool to get what you're wanting. But it's because they're adding so much. So they're starting having to nest within tools. So that's going to take some getting used to and finding all the stuff and remembering where everything's at. But I've had a few people who have downloaded it, didn't like what was going on, or it started affecting their performance from their lasers. So they tried to go back to a previous version and we're having problems still. It's like whatever bug that it had from doing this beta test, even trying to go back, it's still there. They were having problems with homing, engraving powers, and everything. So they're still, and Chris can probably speak. Yeah, he says this is very close to release. They're still shaking some bugs out of it, but with all the stuff they got going on, and with all the major changes they're doing, yeah, hotkeys avoid nested menus. Yes, and I never was a big hotkey fan until I get more and more versed in Lightburn. The more I'm using, the more hotkeys I am using, and I'm a big proponent of hotkeys. Big proponent. I seen a post where they're talking about both of those are close, and a little bit of a tease about it. Maybe there might both be done at LBX this year. So, I don't know if they'll be out before Lightburn Experience, but last year's Lightburn Experience, I think, what was that? Was that in October? Was it last year? Year before. That was 2 years ago, wasn't it? Or was it last year? It was last year. Milmage. MAGE. All right, guys. Do you use the escape key to take you back to the selector tool? Sometimes, not all times, because a lot of times I didn't even realize I'm not on the selector tool yet. And I'm like, gosh, I need to be on selector. No, I don't do it all the time. But yeah, the escape to get back to your selector tool is a good shortcut. And Chris, I think version 2 will be prior and hopefully Mill Mage at LBX in early July. So they're doing it earlier in the year this year. Okay. Because I don't think last year was in July, was it? It was in the fall, wasn't it? Well, thank you, Bob. Thank you for your gift, Bob. Greatly appreciated. Much needed. Much needed and greatly appreciated. It was in 2023. That's when you was it 2023? Golly. Crazy. Crazy, crazy, crazy. All right. Well, all right, guys. You all have a good night. Oh, there's another question. Are you still using? No, I have not. Jack. The triple thick. I love the finish that you can get with triple thick. But to get to a piano-like finish with the triple thick, it never cured the way that I wanted it to with the type of finish that I wanted to have with it. It just took so long to cure, and maybe because of the way I was applying it and not allowing enough time between applications. But I figured I'm using just Rust-Oleum lacquer now, and I don't have it out here, but let me grab this piece. So this is a piece of the hard maple. Let me find your comment, turn you off. So this is one of my hard maple plaques that I'm selling. And that's raw, no finish on it. And this is with this is just spray lacquer from Rust-Oleum. Just a high gloss lacquer finish. And look at that reflection compared to, and that is super, super glossy, super thick. It's a piano finish, slick, slick, slick. But this is a 5x7 plaque. And that's one entire can, an entire can of a Rust-Oleum lacquer on here. And it's lacquer, sand, lacquer, sand, lacquer, sand, lacquer, maybe leather lacquer, and then sand. I don't know how many coats I got on this thing, but it's an entire can. But it's you can dive into this. It's super, super glossy, super thick, and it's much harder than anything I was able to get with the triple thick. Triple glaze got taken off Australian market due to people complaining. Yeah, it takes forever to cure. It takes forever to cure, so I quit using it. I love the look of it, but it's forever. I even played with and this was a hard lesson learned. I took and did a coat of triple thick, and then I thought, well, maybe if I was to put it under, an infrared, light, and just to help cure it, bake it, it would cure harder, faster. But instead, it actually started the heat or whatever started allowing gases and stuff to come up out of the wood, and I actually had, and the triple thick even began to bubble. So I was like, oh, that don't work. Yeah, John, it's probably at least 10 coats on there. I went to town on this. but I wanted it to be like a baby grand piano. I wanted it to be thick and slick, slick, slick. I got more invested in that than I'll ever get out of it, but I wanted to have a super, super quality piece. Yeah. In fact, whenever we go up to West Bend Hardwood this week, I'm going to be looking. Do I have some over here? Thought I had some. Let's see here. I thought I had some Purple Heart hardwood over there, but I don't have any. But when I create the Purple Heart logo eventually, I plan on doing one of those in the different, couple different layers and using different hardwoods. And I thought the Purple Heart hardwood was more purple than it is, but it's really kind of reddish. Don't know. I'll be playing. I use a pre-cat lacquer on my guitar, builds 15 coats, 5 at a time in sand. Yeah. And I'm guessing you block sand, I'm guessing, right? Because that was the one thing. I ran this through my planer and had everything nice, but you get a little bit of a chip away or whatever in the hardwood, and just a little bit of a divot, and you can get a little bit of a fisheye look to it. And it's not a fisheye, but a little dimple in the lacquer. But put on a good heavy coat and then block sand it. Put on another heavy coat, block sand it, and keep doing that until you can get all those nice and level. A lot of work. A lot of work. Yeah, I've got a little bitty rechargeable airbrush, but I don't have any kind of spray equipment. I used my spray bombs. Yep, and that was whenever I got up to grab everything, I disturbed her. She was laying over here at my feet, but she gets nervous when I'm walking around her. I ain't never fell on her, but she gets nervous. And I've got some epoxy, and I've played with it a little bit. And what I want to do is I want to do some epoxy filled engravings, for color. I'm gonna be playing with some of that too this summer, especially with the CNC. I've got so many ideas for the CNC and the Cubico, uh, but to do some color epoxy filled engravings. And machine buff it. What font is the nurse one? The prayer. Da, ba, ba, ba. Let's see here. Lightburn. I think it's Christian Sunday, but let me look. Art library and make sure this is what you're talking about. The nurse prayer. Let's get rid of all of you. Nurse prayer. And actually, it was 2 different fonts. Make sure this is what you're talking about, Carl. Switch. Is this what you're asking about? Which font did I use here? Waiting for confirmation if that's the right piece, Carl. And you guys asking about the powder coating thing. Yeah, I did that. It's a little bit gimmicky, and it's a little bit of a pain in the butt, but that's how I did. This is Dusty says, but this is my little tack hammer, and I nicknamed it my little pecker. And it's actually two different. Woody is red powder coat, and the little pecker is blue powder coat. All right. So yes, Carl, you're asking about the nurse prayer. This is two different fonts. If I ungroup it so we can see it, this is not letting me. I still got to ungroup it again. Come on. Ungroup it again. I got it. In fact, you know what? Let's just do this. Ungroup, 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 ungroup. I'm sorry. No, that's the French script MT. French script. And this top piece has gotten converted to a path, but I think that one might have been Christian Sunday. I can't remember for sure. But this one is French script MT. And this, I think, is just Arial round. I think. And it's got changed to a font, a path. But I think that was Arial round, I think. But once I change it over to a path, it no longer identifies it. But those didn't get changed to a path. It's French script. But after everybody had problems with the some of the corruption, and there was some speculation that they were having problems because there were fonts used that they didn't have. Lightburn is supposed to convert any font that you don't have to a path automatically. But I started converting a lot of my stuff to paths before I shared it so that people shouldn't have any issues. Steve Smith says, I had to relaser a whole project today because of triple thick. I will be sticking to lacquer. Yeah, it took me a lot of practice to get a really good result with that triple thick. But it never did cure. It, like Chris mentioned, it takes forever to cure, and I just quit using it. Ain't worth it. Ain't worth it. All right. So let's wrap it. Guys, I appreciate you all. I do. I greatly appreciate your support. Appreciate the likes, the thumbs ups, the comments, the participation. Like, share, subscribe. Go over to patreon.com, become a patron. Because I'm going to be doing the patron live streams at least 2 or 3 times a month. Anytime that I'm in here working and designing, I'm just going to do a quick live stream that's just for the patrons, so they can, if nothing else, just watch me work, and then it can become a collaboration. I value the input and get a really, really nice piece. So thank you all. Thank you all. Thank you all. Have a good night. Have a great next week. And we'll see you either in the next Patreon stream or here on YouTube. Have a good night, everybody.